Okay, so welcome to OKI or Oki's Weird Stories podcast number 1. I think I'll do this every now and again. There won't be any set schedule, but I just hit 100K, so what better time to start than now, right? Wow, how do people just talk on a podcast without like doing or or whatever? Like all of my content it's scripted content. So this is a little new for me, having to continue to talk and leave no dead space or dead air, as they say in radio. So I just have to be a little cognizant of leaving you guys hanging, right? So let's just Philip DeFranco style jump right into it, right? Ugh. All right. I shouldn't say ugh. Actually, I kind of I like Sexy Phil, which was his old name. SXE Phil. That guy. He does good work, and anyway, whatever. I'm going on a tangent here, and I'm gonna do a lot of tangents because that's just I guess that's my communication style. So I made a community post, and I made posts on my Twitter and my Reddit, and I said, "Hey guys, if you have any questions for me, why don't you leave them and I'll answer them in a podcast." So that's what we're doing here. But first, I also said in those posts that I'll talk about the Dan Nainan phone call, which if you're not aware, I talked to Dan Nainan around like 2 weeks ago, and the phone call lasted for like an hour. It was a long phone call, and it wasn't contentious. Actually, it was very cordial. It was very he was easy to talk to, but I mean, it is Dan Nainan, so he is someone, and a lot of people do say this. When I was researching for the video, I saw that a lot of people who had issues with him said, you know what, he seemed like a very nice person the first time I met him. And he was always very nice to me until the email started, or he was always very nice to me until whatever, until I called him a hack. So, that's Dan. Dan, I think he's one of these people who they can seem very nice when maybe they're not very nice. Anyway, he seemed nice on the phone call. When we talked, it was an easy conversation. So, how did it start? It started about 2 weeks ago. I checked my email and I noticed that 3 days prior to that, he emailed me, but I missed it. So I clicked the email and he said something along the lines of, "Can you call me? I have a business opportunity for you." And obviously, immediately I was skeptical because what business opportunity could Dan Nainan possibly have for me? But I wanted to talk to him, and it was an invitation to talk to him. So I was like, you know what, fuck it. So I called him. Obviously, I used *69 or *67 or whatever the fuck it was. I had to Google it actually, which made my phone call private. So he doesn't have my phone number. So I called him and he answered almost immediately. And as soon as I called him and I'm like, "Hey, it's Oki," he was in the middle of something, so he kind of was like, oh my God, okay, hi, give me a sec. So it was a bit of a scramble before we started talking, and I guess he settled down a bit, and about 2 minutes later, he's like, "Hello," and I'm like, yeah. So you said you had a business opportunity for me, and then it was kind of a bizarre first 20 to 30 minutes because, first of all, his first question, I think, was like, how much money did you make from the video, right? And then I was like, okay, well, not much. And then he's like, "Do you make money from YouTube?" I'm like, "Not really, not very much at all," right? And then he said, "Oh, I looked it up, and the video almost has 1 million views, so that means something like $1,000." which I mean he's right about. I think I made around a grand on that video. But I didn't really confirm or deny. I just kind of left it in the air. And then he started saying that I have opportunities to do 6-figure shows, and a lot of them are coming up, and but people look my name up on Google and your video shows up, and I'm wondering, would you take it down and I can figure out a way to cut you into the 6-figure shows? Which is just such bullshit, right? It was such obvious bullshit. Like I immediately recognized what he was trying to do. So I was just like, no, I'm not taking the video down. The video I worked hard on. I spent 2 months making the video. What's more is, yes, like you say that people look you up and they see the video, but I mean, people look you up and they see a lot more than just my video. They see that, you punched Josh Rogan, the journalist, in the face. And, right next to my video is a rant from Mark Maron, which the title is so much more incendiary than mine, which is just the rise and fall of Dan Nainan. Like, you don't get that much from just my title. Like, okay, in the thumbnail it says, like, the most hated man in comedy. But even still, it wasn't the most critical thing just by appearance of the thumbnail or the image when you look him up on Google. It wasn't the most critical thing that came up, and I let him know that. But then he told me, like, oh, right before you posted that video, I worked with a guy who cleaned up my, when someone looks you up on Google, he had someone who, like, made it, like, all the negative shit, like, they buried it, right? Which, I don't know if that's exactly true. When I was looking them up, it was very easy to find all of those things. Maybe they were, like, you had to scroll down, like, one page, but otherwise, it was always very easy to find, critical information about, criticism about Dan Nainan online. Which, and, like, him saying that, like, I get it. Kind of sucks, dude, but still, it's all out there. Anybody can look it up. It's not just my video. And then after that, he started telling me about how his friend saw my video and mentioned it to him and said, hey, you know what? This video's doing really well. Why don't you, like, embrace the role of the villain? And, by embracing that role, you could be, like, famous. You could be, I guess, like, I don't know, like one of those people who go on Dr. Phil for just being, like an idiot. And, then they become, like, kind of a meme. Or, like, I guess, like a Nissan as well, who, or Keemstar, like the type of people that, everybody hates. Or like J-Star, what was his name? J Station, J Station. Like, I guess, like, his friend was saying, hey, why don't you embrace that role? It could be good for your career. And I was like, nah, people don't want that, Because, like, I was like, oh, excuse me, hold on. A little burpee. Hold on. I told him that people don't want to see that. People want to see you do, like, kind of like a mea culpa, they want to see you apologize and not even apologize, just admit, because you don't really, like I was explaining to him, like, you don't really have that much to apologize for. Like, the only enemy that you have is yourself, really. It's your character that people, I don't even think people really have a problem with him as much as they just think he's pathetic in a way, which is really kind of sounds mean to say, but I mean, I think it's pretty much the truth. It's like, so it's like, people just want to kind of see that you grew and you learned, and, they don't want you to be the villain, or else, people just kind of hate you even more and just, want nothing to do with you, you know? So I was like, come on, a podcast. We could do a podcast together, and what we could do is, talk on my channel, and you should just be like, yeah, I learned from my mistakes and blah blah blah. And he's like, you know what, I think you're right about that. And then he said, yeah, if we do a podcast, it should be a live stream, because what he was saying is he didn't want me to edit anything out. Which I was like, okay, yeah, sure, that's fine. Otherwise, like, we kind of just went through, like, the story. Like, after that, then it became, like, after we talked about that stuff, then it became really clear that he actually hasn't grown or really learned anything, and he's kind of the same old Dan. Because, like, the rest of the phone call was him, being like, oh, well, this comedian lied about me. Oh, this comedian, doesn't even work, but he doesn't get gigs, but he, like they say, like he says that I'm a hack. And where does he get off calling me a hack even though he doesn't get gigs? Then he was like, then he sent me like an email that proves, and I say that in like inverted air quotes because it proved nothing. He sent me an email from some comedian who at one point said that Dan used Brad Garrett's name. Brad Garrett from Everybody Loves Raymond. Dan Nainan used Brad Garrett's name to get a gig, and he invited himself, blah, blah, blah. And Dan's like, oh, no, but look, like he sent me an email. He's like, look, this proves that this guy invited me to a show. But it was just that. It was just this one comedian who later said that, he used Brad Garrett's name, inviting him to a show, which could have happened at any time. And it really didn't prove anything, but I guess he was adamant that it did. It was a lot of stuff like that. Just like, people, like, he kept saying that people are lying about him and whatever. And it was, and we kind of talked about some other stuff, and I asked him some questions that I had myself, because while I was researching him, I was just trying to, if I was able to get an interview with him before I released my video, I asked him the questions I would have asked then, just like timeline stuff. When did it start? Blah, blah, blah. So yeah, he kind of made a lot of that clearer for me, like the timeline, but he also made it clear that he's the same old Dan, hasn't really learned anything, hasn't really grown much. He's an older guy too. He's pushing, I think he's like in his 60s now. How is he gonna, I doubt that he's gonna ever change. I feel like anybody can change, but I don't know if he will. Oh, I also asked him about the daily, I think it's the daily helper clip that I used at the end of the video, the one with the psychologist, the 3 psychologists who like kind of cornered him. And I asked him, like, were you surprised when you went on that show and they they had all of that shit on you, and they, were asking you that stuff? And he was like at first he was like, he didn't remember, but then he was like, oh no, it was a free flight to Los Angeles. It was, so he was like, oh, okay, yeah, it's he said it was like, oh, it's TV, so that's what they do. And that's so he was totally fine with it, which was surprising to me, because I always thought that he would hold a grudge for that, but I guess he doesn't. He got a free trip. And he also told me, like, next time he's in Toronto, because he said that I live in Toronto, by the way. He said that he does gigs in Toronto a lot. So next time he's in Toronto, he might, we could probably meet up and we can do an interview. But, I don't know. I think he sounded like he was really down for the interview. But then after we talked on the phone, I reached out to him a few times and he never got back to me. So I guess he changed his mind. He was saying, oh, I'm going to check out the John Mcafee interview. So maybe he saw that. I don't know. But I even explained like the John Mcafee interview, like it didn't go exactly as planned. I didn't exactly want it to end so contentiously. And I also explained like, hey, Dan, like you're not John Mcafee. Like you didn't kill people. I mean, you didn't allegedly rape someone. There's no rape allegations or murder allegations or scamming people, like allegations that you scam people. You're not John Mcafee, Dan. You're just like this guy who honestly is just I don't know, you're like a cautionary tale of what could happen if you never let go of the bitter feelings that you have like from your high school bullies, like if you never let go of your teenage years, you turn into Dan. It's like, I didn't exactly say that, but that's my impression of Dan. Like for me, Dan isn't like, I don't dislike Dan. I don't think that anything, I don't think that anything, like I don't wish for any ill will towards him. You know what I mean? Like I wish the best for Dan. I wish he can like, see, like look himself in the mirror and really critically just, figure out what his issues are, because he's like I said, his own worst enemy is himself. I never had any ill feelings for Dan until he tried to take down my video twice and then took down a video where I was just talking about him taking down my videos. And then he like giving me 3 strikes and like I thought like I was going to lose my channel. So in that moment, I didn't like Dan very much, but eventually everything subsided and now I'm neutral. I feel very neutral about Dan Nainan. I wish him the best. Hopefully he figures his shit out and that's Dan. So, moving forward, I have a bunch of questions that people sent me. Since I was just talking about Dan Nainan, I might as well just like go with the Dan Nainan questions first. So someone said, wait, you talked to Dan. Was it as much as a nightmare as Mcafee? No, it wasn't. See, it wasn't a nightmare like I just said. It was cordial. It was easy. Like we talked on the phone for like an hour, but it was never. It was very easy, very 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 cordial and very easy. And also like Mcafee, like the interview with Mcafee, I don't know if it was a nightmare. I know I got a lot of criticism for that, but I mean, whatever. I think it was just a vocal minority, and criticism is fair. Okay, it's always fair. Yeah, the John Mcafee interview was interesting because like going into it, like I watched a lot of his interviews because the guy I don't know if he does this anymore, but there was a few months ago where every single day, like he would do like 4 different podcast appearances. Like he would talk to people with like 20 subscribers and like, they just like have a Dixie cup, like just sitting on their desk and like, they're vaping or whatever. Like they're just like in a dark room and there's a loud fan in the background. Mcafee would talk to anybody for a few months. I'm sure he still does, I'm sure he still does that. Even you, like if you're listening right now, you don't have to have an audience to message John Mcafee and ask for an interview. I'm sure he didn't even really know who I was when he like accepted it. A lot of people seem to think that I asked him, like I emailed his wife Janice and I said it's for Bitcoin, which that's not true. He just made that up on the spot. I didn't ask for Bitcoin. In fact, all I said is like, yeah, I would love the opportunity to talk to Mr. Mcafee. And then we set up a date, and it happened. So he kind of pulled that out of his ass, or maybe he was going off of, wrong information, and that he just assumed it was a Bitcoin thing. But even still, why would I why would I give John McAfee and yes, it is a platform. Any platform, and that's something I did say in my video. I said, I'm giving you a platform, and then he started laughing, and then whatever. And yes, I did give him a platform. If I gave him a soapbox on the street, and on a busy Manhattan street, and I said, McAfee, stand on this, and yeah, here's a loudspeaker, and you can talk. That's a platform. I'm not talking about numbers. I'm not talking about anything. I'm just talking about, look, here's an audience, regardless of how small it might be. Here's the platform. But anyway, yeah, that was a whole tangent. But my main point is I wouldn't want him to talk about cryptocurrency at all, because he would just push his scam coin, and I don't want him doing that. But yeah, no, I was watching a lot of his interviews going into it, and I saw that he on average he talked to people for 22 minutes or so, right? It depended on honestly, it depended on his high cycle. So if he was really blasted, if he was drunk and high, excuse me, hold on. If he was, oh shit. Okay, sorry. It's some ASMR for you. Yeah, anyway, so if he was really drunk and high, the podcast would go on for hours. They would go for sometimes 2 hours. If he was sober, or not, if he wasn't blasted, or if he just started drinking, or he just started smoking pot, or whatever he does. I think he smokes weed and drinks and does I'm pretty sure he does stimulants still. But before he was blasted, if it was before he's blasted, then it would be a short, quick interview. And our interview was pretty early in the day. It was I think we did it at 11 a.m., something like that. So, and his, and when we started, he was oh, you have 18 minutes. And I realized, that his connection was really choppy. And, it just, I was okay, well, I can talk to John McAfee, and I can listen to him lie compulsively and spin the narrative, and just say a bunch of bullshit. Or I can just straight up ask him the questions that, that are the most important, which is what I did. And, so I'm happy with that interview. I'm happy that I did that. And, yeah, I have no regrets. So, moving on. Someone asked me, does Dan have any awareness, about what people think of his comedy? Does he, why do people think that he is, does he understand why people think he is hacky? The way it's written is weird. Sorry. Okay. So basically this person's asking me, does he realize that he's a hack? Does he understand why other people don't respect him? I don't know. I don't know exactly why. Yeah, I think Dan is he's kind of tasteless, right? He's there's a lot, I guess there's a certain type of person like this, and there's a lot of people like this, where it's they don't really have taste, and if they think they have taste, it only is about dollar signs and material goods and, just flashy, shallow stuff. I don't know if Dan really cares about, being a great comedian or anything, because he literally just does the same act, and he does, it's not even that he does, not only does he just do the same act, he had a guy who he had people write his jokes, he had one guy, an acting coach who was also he did coaching for comedians, and that guy and Dan that guy wrote Dan's jokes, most of his material. And I forget exactly where I saw that, but I've seen him mention it more than once. So, Dan's not really, like I guess like I think he sees himself as I don't know. Because there is that one clip where he does call himself an artist. I think he just lacks general self-awareness. Anyway, someone asked me, why Dan, why? I agree, bro. Why Dan, why? Why Dan, why? Another person asked me, ask him if he's such a great guy. How does he justify hijacking other comedians' sites? Does he not see how that alone can make them hate him? He denies the hijacking comedian sites, even though there's plenty of proof that he does that. Yeah, I don't know. I think that there's a lot that goes into the mental gymnastics that Dan utilizes to justify a lot of his behavior and his standing in the world and his standing in the comedy world and with other people. I think he can rationalize pretty much anything where he comes out as the victim and everybody else are bullies and haters, right? It's that same mentality, you know? It's that stupid, oh, you're just a hater, bro. It's like a lot of people comment that they like Dan reminds them of rice gum, and yeah, I mean, yeah, it's the same thing. They're the same type. Okay, the rest of these Dan Nainan. Okay, so Alejandro from Twitter. This guy's cool. This guy, I know this guy. Anyway, he said, from your conversation with Dan, did you get a sense that he was trying to make an honest change in his life? Yeah, I mentioned it just earlier that no, I don't think he actually has tried, or he hasn't been able to come to the realization that he should try, or I don't know. He hasn't really grown much. He's the same dude. Okay, so I'm done with the Dan Nainan questions. I'm gonna take a quick break. Give me a sec. Okay, so yeah, I'm back. Give me a sec. All right, so a bunch of people asked me some questions about myself. So let's get into that. Okay, so someone asked, I'd love to hear your backstory sometime. No way that a guy who's posting the most interesting videos isn't interesting himself. Thanks for the content. Okay, well, I'm not very interesting. Just being honest. I'm very, very, I've lived a very ordinary life. Yeah. I guess, like, something interesting about myself, like, I went to a military school when I was younger, which was crazy. Like when we get punished there, we'd have to run like 25 laps with 50-pound like vest on with like leaded, like not lead, but like weights. And I remember like having to eat outdoors sometimes, facing the wall all day at times. When we were there, we had this yearly thing where we did like 90-kilometer 3-day march, which was, the first time it was hell, but the second year, like, cause I was running and doing push-ups and exercising all the time during the previous year, the second year I did it, it was actually easy. Now, if I tried it, I would fucking die. It would be terrible. But yeah, no, I'm very, very average. Nothing too crazy. I mean, I've dislocated my shoulders, like my right one like a dozen times, my left one like 5 times, which is nuts. Last time was just 2 weeks ago. Yeah, they come out like nothing, so I need like surgery for both of them. Yeah. But yeah, otherwise, yeah, pretty normal. Someone asked, what made you want to make content? especially these juicy deep dive type videos. Whose shit do you like to watch? Advice for anyone trying to make some content themselves. Also, where did you find the Oki girl VHS footage? Okay, so that's a bunch of questions. Let me think. What made me want to make content? Well, I've been making YouTube videos since like the website started. So like my first video like that hit like 40K thousand views was one that I made in like 2007. And actually my first channel was funny. It was just like AMV videos, like anime music videos, cuz like I was watching a bunch of anime and I liked AMVs. I always thought it was cool. I just like those cool edits. I like movie trailers as well. I just like music mixed with emotional scenes of things. So I was doing that a lot. But I made so many channels over the course of many, many years. I had one where I just made like music montage videos for the Black Panther Party because I was really into the Black Panther Party when I was like 14. I made like when I was really into StarCraft 2, and I was playing that game so much. Like actually, I was playing so much that I wanted to go pro in it. When I did that, I made these like StarCraft comedy videos, which now that I say it out loud sounds like the most unfunny thing of all time. But yeah, I posted them on the StarCraft Reddit. Actually, if you look up Bronze League Superstar, you could find it. I'm wearing like a hat, like a Scully cap, I think it's called, and I'm wearing like a brown suit with a tie, and I'm using this like deep voice effect, but you can hardly hear it over the music, which like I can't believe people even like that video because like you can't even hear what I'm saying. But 21,000 people watched it and had something like 400 likes. So yeah, it was that was my first first video where like it was me just like showing my face and talking, and it kind of took off. And I did a few videos like that, but like with dwindling responses. And then after that, like I made a bunch of short films, which I have on some channel. I think probably that same channel, but I don't remember. Then after that, I made a channel that was basically like a ripoff of Your Movie Sucks. Like his old, like now Your Movie Sucks, like the YMS guy, Adam, he does like, he does a lot of quickies now, and he does like a lot of quick, like, yeah, just like, quick reviews with minimal editing. I think he has an editor now. I don't know. Anyway, but like I was really, really inspired by his older stuff where he would do like these long videos, and I think he was like one of the first people to do that on this website, other than like Red Letter Media. He was one of the first to do long videos, just long movie rant videos, completely ripping apart a movie. And I really liked his editing style and his use of music, and actually. You can probably see his older style still in my videos. Like I still take I think I'm still really inspired by his older stuff, and yeah, my editing style is very similar, I think, to those older videos. And anyway, yeah, so I made this, like it was like in 2016. I made a bunch of videos where like one about James Franco movies, because James Franco has a bunch of movies that he directed that are really terrible, but he was making like one every few months. It was very strange. And it wasn't like comedy movies. They were all like really pretentious art movies, or like remakes or adaptations of classic William Faulkner novels. So it was just bizarre, really. So, I made fun of those movies, and that did okay. It got like 3,000 views or something. And then I made a video about Now You See Me, which was like 30 minutes long, I mean. And yeah, that was another video that was just like a ripoff of YMS, and I was actually posting them onto his subreddit. So a lot of my older videos, like I posted a lot of them onto the YMS subreddit. So yeah, like he allows it on people to post their own stuff on his subreddit, which is really cool, you know. And like I have a subreddit now, so like if anybody ever wants to post their own work, do it. Fuck yeah. Otherwise, yeah, so I did that, and then, but there was like a period of like 3 to 4 years where I really wanted to, and I still have this goal. I really want to do 3 things. I want to write a book. I want to write and direct a film, and I want to write and do the art for a comic book or a graphic novel. So there was, like, I was making short films in like 2014 or something, and I think I got somewhat okay. Like I got to a point where I was somewhat okay using like a digital camera and lighting, and but like the stories were, like, the scripts were so fucking bad. Like there was no story to any of them, and you know, the actors, like, they were just my friends, and you know, it would be one day shoots, and we just try and get everything we could in that one day. And you know, I'd have to entice people by being like, yeah, no, I'll get us pizza and beer, and which wasn't really the best for like a working environment. But yeah, so I decided around 2014 that, like, if I ever want to direct something, or if I ever want to do anything to tell stories, because that's pretty much what I want to do, is tell stories, I'm gonna have to learn how to write. I'm gonna have to learn how to tell a story, right? So I spent years doing that. I wrote like 4 or 5 books. Like they're just sitting like on one of my Google Drives. I mean, like they're just like not completely finished. Like a lot of them need a lot of editing, but a lot of, like, I think 3 out of 4 of them are just first drafts that I, like, you know, just got to like 200 pages and then wrote the end and hardly ever looked back at. But there is one of them that, like, I did like a bunch of different drafts for, and I was in like in a writing group at the time, and you know, I was showing my work to them, and that, like, I was really into it. And then, you know, I saw that there was like screenplay contests that, you know, if you write a good enough screenplay, you know, people in the industry will judge it, and you might be able to get flown to Los Angeles and meet with people like producers or, you know, studios. So I was like, okay, let me try let me take a shot at this. And so I wrote a bunch of scripts, actually. Yeah, like just so many. And again, a lot of them were first drafts, but there were a few of them that are pretty polished, actually. So around like 2017, there was a competition coming up, screenplay competition coming up, and I don't exactly remember what the name of it was at this moment. I can look it up later, I guess. But anyway, it doesn't really matter. So the deadline was something like September 11th, or not September 11th. I think it was September 8th or something. So I was like, okay, I have all summer. Let me try and write 2 screenplays, which was a really bad idea because I quickly got overwhelmed. And then I decided, I don't know. I didn't even decide anything. I got I got pretty far with both of them before, like, my passion started to dwindle, and I started to become very self-critical of the quality of my work, and I guess there was a lot of fear there, and which, you know, those are the ingredients, I think, for procrastination. So I procrastinated, and I ended up making YouTube videos instead. and it wasn't the videos that are on my channel right now. Although you could actually see some of them on my main channel, the Oki's Weird Stories. If you go to the playlist section and you look at the category old videos, so there were a bunch of like just, I don't even know if you can call them comedy videos. I guess some of them were kind of funny. I was putting on this weird like Minnesotan accent. I don't know what I was doing. I was playing some kind of weird character. And it was all just like movie rants, but like surreal movie rants, like insane, stupid movie rants. So I did one like who are the best dressed directors? Who are the worst dressed directors? You know, shit like that, right? I did a video comparing Bill Murray to Tom Hanks, and I was like, who's America's dad? You know. And I think I ended up saying Tom Hanks because Bill Murray plays an asshole in movies or something like that. They were just really dumb, off the cuff, like, you know, quick, fun videos to make. And it was like a creative outlet. You know, I was posting those on YMS, the Reddit YMS as well. So, yeah. But there's like 2 or 3 of those videos still on my channel if you look at the playlist section and you click old videos. So I was doing that, and then as I was doing that and I made like 5 or 6 videos like that, I was like, okay, I have 14 subscribers. It's time to go all in with YouTube. So I decided, fuck it, I'm gonna give it a fair shot, and but the type of content that I'm making isn't something that's gonna get very many eyes. It's too niche. It's too weird, and it's too like people don't know what the fuck it is. So I decided, okay, I see a lot of video essays on YouTube, and this was the time where like Nerd Writer was huge, and like every frame of painting was already pretty huge, and there was that other guy. Oh fuck, what's his name? Captain Christian, which like he came out of nowhere with like crazy editing, and like everybody was really impressed with him. So I didn't quite want to make a video essay though. I wanted to make a parody of a video essay because I was making these weird movie comedy videos. So I was like, okay, fuck it, it's time to you know, rip on the Nerd Writer. Because for some reason I didn't like the Nerd Writer at all back then. Right now I'm like, I respect the guy. He's a fucking worker. I don't know if he still posts, but like that guy was putting out pretty high quality stuff like every week. Like, and like, I don't know how he did it, but I do respect him. But back then I was like, oh, fuck this guy and fuck all these pseudo intellectual dweebs, and let me make fun of this by doing a video essay on the stupidest topic possible. So I chose to do a video on Jean-Claude Van Damme, which is still on my channel. It's the first video on Oki's Weird Stories. It's the How an American Ninja Tricked Hollywood. But it didn't start as that. It started as a Jean-Claude Van Damme video, excuse me. So, like, what my whole idea was to watch every single Jean-Claude Van Damme movie, and I was almost thinking, like, fuck it, let me, like, make it, like, a bunch of videos just dedicated to Van Damme. And, like, I just was looking for funny moments in Van Damme movies, and then I realized, like, I made the connection that Van Damme, he's, like, he comes off as a kind of, I don't know exactly how to put it other than kind of gay, which is not, there's nothing wrong with that at all. It was just a funny observation to me, which is like the crux of my video where, you know, he's twerking and he's doing all these, and he's always naked, and, you know, he's the eye candy. And I just thought it was just kind of funny the way that he's like this, him and a lot of 80s macho action movie stars are like these macho muscly guys, and like it's movies meant for like 12-year-olds who are like, you know, just want to go and see like a bunch of scenes with just violence and then maybe like a shot of tits or something. But you go to a Van Damme movie and it's you have the violence, but then you also have shots of Van Damme's ass, which was funny to me. So then I made the connection that because I saw a long time ago the Quentin Tarantino breakdown of Top Gun. Tom Cruise movie Top Gun, and his whole idea about that movie was that that it was subversively, it was a very subversively gay movie, which means that it's it has the appearance of it's a manly, bro-y movie, but its undertones it has homoerotic undertones. And you could go look up that clip, and you'll understand what I mean more so than how I'm explaining it right now. But so I wanted to do that, but I wanted to do that for Jean-Claude Van Damme. So that was the second half of that How an American Ninja Tricked Hollywood video. The first half came from just looking Van Damme up a bunch and then realizing seeing the Frank Dukes connection, which I got from an article, by the way. I actually, to this day, I still get people telling me that, oh, you stole it from the Pink Man. You stole it from the Pink Man. I didn't know who the fuck the Pink Man was, okay? The only video that I saw talking about Frank Dukes at the time was by this guy named Lance Hendricks or something like that. And, the Pink Man video came, it came out a month before my video. But I was working on that Van Damme video for 3 months, right? So it was just weird timing, I guess. The whole reason I even decided to do the Van Damme video in the first place was just because the first impetus was just seeing the green screen footage that he put out. I don't know if you've ever seen the green screen pack that he put out, but there's footage of Van Damme in front of a green screen, and he's shooting guns and he's playing with nunchucks and whatever. And I was just oh, okay, this would be cool for one of the videos, the type of video that I'm doing now. I was doing at the time the comedy, funny movie videos. So yeah, anyway, yeah. So then I did that, and I did that, and it did well on Reddit. I think it got 1,000 views. And then I put out Roar, the Roar video, and that got 14,000 views. And then I started to think, okay, well, maybe I could do something with this channel if I just keep making, talking about crazy shit, right? And that was interesting to me at the time, and I was watching a lot of stuff like that at the time. So Frederick Knudsen came out of nowhere, Down the Rabbit Hole came out of nowhere, and I was subbed to him when he had 2,000 views, which I got to talk to him actually one time, and I got to tell him that, and he's my YouTube idol. So that was fucking awesome. So I was really inspired by him. I was really inspired by YMS. I was really inspired by Internet Historian, and I just wanted to do cool videos like that, about weird shit, and doing documentaries on YouTube. So that's what I decided to do. And yeah. Otherwise, what are the other questions? The juicy deep dive type videos. Yeah, that kind of came from also just as I continued to make these videos, I realized that I'm not someone who's okay with researching something for a week and then putting out a video. I can't seem to stop myself. So if I find a topic, I have to read every single thing about that topic. I have to look up every single thing about that topic before I make the video. So actually making videos for me, it's about 10% of the process. 90% of the process is just research and writing. And that's it. That's most of the time I spend. For the Terry Tilly thing, I spent 6 months, since August, 6 months just researching and writing, right? And what I did is there's just so much structuring that goes into it as well, fact checking, and being you can take a story and you can get all this research and you can put it and you can have hundreds of pages of notes, which is what I have. I had hundreds of pages of notes, but I think what it comes down to, what I'm doing and what I've learned that I kind of excel at is taking these stories and, you know, remolding them, like presenting them in a different way, and, you know, just truncating bits and putting it together so it's all seamless, you know. And I think I've really accomplished that with the Mcafee series, and like especially the Terry Tilley series, and I'm just getting better at it. So I'm like, you know, I'm happy with what I'm doing. Otherwise, what else did they ask? Where did you find the OKI weird stories? Where did you find the Oki girl? Okay, Yui Asaka. So that, if you watch my older videos, if you click the playlist on my main channel and you click old videos, you'll see that I was using the Yui Asaka opening, the OKI opening, like back then. That was just a random thing that happened. And back then my channel's name was just my name, which is Adam. It was just Adam A, right? But then I actually changed my name to OKI because I kept using these openings. And I just like, fuck it. Yeah, so it came from that. It came, like, I found that in a compilation of Japanese commercials, because I was watching a lot of Japanese commercials at the time. I was really into the whole 80s aesthetic and like city pop at the time. I still really like city pop. 1980s Japanese music, pop music, like easy listening stuff. That shit fucking bops. Like, Anri is she's great. Funnily enough, Yui Asaka is not actually a good singer, but I just really like that jingle in that OKI commercial. I just really like the dance she does, and there's something very charming and adorable about the whole thing. And so I just really liked it, and I just like it. It stuck. So I'm gonna keep that for as long as possible, because I do really like that opening. I wish I could have someone remake it in a way. That would be cool, but whatever. Okay, so next question. What TV shows / movies have you recently watched? Okay, so I watched Uncut Gems recently in theaters. That was like a couple weeks ago. It was good. It was good. It was just good. Okay, I know some people are probably gonna get mad at me if you really like that movie, but like, if you get mad and you're like, whatever, like, look, just go watch the Harvey Keitel, Abel Ferrara directed Bad Lieutenant. The first one, not the Nicolas Cage one. Watch the first Bad Lieutenant and tell me that Uncut Gems isn't like, it's the way that the whole gambling aspect and even the ending and the whole thing of like, Adam Sandler's character just keeps digging himself into like a deeper and deeper hole by like making these crazy bets while he's already down and while people are trying to kill him and beat him up. Like, and then, I don't want to spoil the ending, but like, that's Bad Lieutenant. So I was watching it and I'm just like, oh, okay, this is... It really took me out of the movie, right? Just the plot, okay? Because like with a film, in my opinion, like, plot isn't everything. You can have a very similar plot. Like, if I really cared about plot all the time, and there's a difference, by the way, between plot and story. Plot is like the bare bones of like the outline, the general outline of what happened. So a lot of mystery movies have exactly the same plot, or detective movies, or whatever, horror movies. There's a lot of movies with like, they have very, very similar plots, right? So that's okay. But with Uncut Gems, it was to the point where it was very, very distracting, because I was like, I've seen this movie and I felt the same tension and emotion, and I've seen it done and executed in a much better way in a classic film, and which is Bad Lieutenant. So I didn't really Like it was like a 6 out of 10. Uncut Gems was a 6 out of 10, but I really like the Safdie brothers. I really like a Good Time, and I do like Uncut Gems. I love the Safdie brothers style, like their cinematography, the energy, the music. They just have a fucking cool ass style. So I rate them highly. But Uncut Gems, I don't know. It was way too similar to the Bad Lieutenant for me. Otherwise, like, yeah, the best movie I've seen in the past couple years is this Danish movie called The Guilty, which is fucking phenomenal. It's like it's really such an exceptional movie. It all takes place in like in one location in like a police dispatch office, like 911 dispatch office or whatever it's called. And this guy, he answers the phone, and you know, a woman and her kid are being abducted by their her abusive husband. And I don't exactly remember all of the details because it has been a little bit of a while since I saw it. But anyway, there's this really like the way it's written is so cool because there's this reveal about halfway through that just makes you reevaluate the whole movie, and it's so well done. It was really great. I was very, very impressed by it. Otherwise, television shows, I was watching, like I rewatched the Ali G show a lot recently. Like I just kept watching Ali G, who I think Sacha Baron Cohen is a genius. Like his characters and the nuance that he puts into all of his characters it's like he really is such a great actor. He doesn't get the credit he deserves, like as a great actor, but like the even like the most subtle of movements and his the way that he changes his how he speaks, and it's just so nuanced the way what he puts into each character that he creates. And so yeah, I think he's amazing and really, really funny. Okay, so what do you do for fun outside of YouTube? Okay, well, I rarely go out these days, to be honest. I hardly ever go out. I hang out with my girlfriend, but that's about it. Sometimes, my friends are busy too, so I don't really even get to see them that often. I saw a movie with a few of them recently. But otherwise, yeah, like I'm home a lot, which is okay. I love being home, to be honest. I prefer it that way. I like quiet. I like my own space. I like being cozy, I don't know if you ever seen that meme format where it's a guy in the corner in a party. He's just like, "Oh, I wish I was at home posting." And it's like that's like that's like me sometimes. But otherwise, yeah, like I like watching movies, TV. I watch a fuck ton of YouTube, like a lot of YouTube. I draw. You can like see my sketches on Instagram. I read a lot. Yeah, I sound like a total nerd, but that's just pretty much what I do. I sit in front of the computer a lot, and I work on videos, and I consume fiction, and listen to music. And that's me. That's what I do. I barely even play video games these days. Last game I played was like Sekiro, and I played Mirror's Edge for the first time, which is just a fucking great game. Yeah. Who are my favorite directors? Fucking great question, dude. Yeah. My favorite directors, it's a toss-up between the Coen brothers and Martin Scorsese. Which is how you say it, Scorsese. You can look that up. The Coen brothers are fucking so great, and I think underrated, to be honest, because you hardly ever see them on lists of the best directors. But I do really think that they're just so solid. I think that the Coen brothers that's a real inspiration for the stories that I pick for my channel, and just the general tone of my channel is I've been like, when I was writing, I was always enamored with Fargo, the movie Fargo, how, it's based on a true story, very, very loosely based on a true story. But like it's so grounded in reality, but then it's also insane. Like there's people like Steve Buscemi gets put through a wood chipper, and it's just so blackly comic and just insane. But then still grounded in reality. So that's kind of what I go for. That's like, even with my writing, I was going for something similar to that. Because I was never really interested in like anything supernatural or fake, Like I like shit in reality that's weird. Just that whole phrase, reality is stranger than fiction. I fuck with that heavy. That's what I'm going for. Reality is stranger than fiction. All right, hold on. Give me a sec. I'm going to pause. Okay, so I'm back. Someone asked, what are your favorite weird story, or excuse me, what's your favorite weird story that you can't turn into a video? There's a lot of them that would take forever that, and like I'm putting them on the back burner for now, and I like research them on the side. So the two big ones are Robert Vesco, who just look him up. He has the craziest life ever, and then Paul LaRue as well. So those are two guys that I want to do like a chronology of their lives. I think that would be fucking awesome. But there really is a lack of images and footage of them, which is something that I've run into that in the past. Like for the Tilly video, like there's only like fucking like three or four photos of Thierry Tilly, but there's a lot of the Vidrines, and there's a lot of footage of the their area that they live in. So like I was still able to do that, even though I just keep reusing the same clips and footage. But there's just enough, that it's not incredibly distracting. But with like Paul LaRue and Robert Vesco, there's just there isn't enough. One day I would really like to work with like an animator or someone or maybe I just draw it myself, and like put together, a video about either one of those guys with illustrations or animation. But right now I'm not in the position to do that. So those are for another time. Otherwise, like there's other videos that I would like to cover, but I kind of made a rule early on, and it's also just because I'm not really interested in doing this. I just don't really want to cover something that someone else has covered. So I kind of was, for a long time, I wanted to do a Martin Shkreli video, like the Farmer Bro guy, because he had that live stream, and he live streamed so much, and he was just like on the internet all the time, just sitting there and talking to people in chat. And I feel like it could be a really funny video, just making fun of, just how lonely and kind of, I don't know, it's kind of sad the way he like you just sit there with like 100 people in a live stream and like debate people and talk to people and sit there all day and like, yeah, I don't know. And then just and the whole thing with like the Wu-Tang Clan, and like the whole story's fucking weird. And like the way that he behaved like this, like he really embraced the role as the villain, and it was just, and the way that the media reacted to him. And, there's a lot of things that are interesting in that story, but Wavy Web Surfer actually did a video, which I think he did a pretty decent job doing it. So I don't really want to do it just yet, but the thing is too, and I'm gonna throw some shade here at Wavy Web Surf. The guy, he did jack my John Mcafee series, and it didn't even have that many views, and he didn't give me a shout out or anything, but like he took my John Mcafee series and he just condensed it and made a video for himself, which was like, it was fucking lame. It was pretty lame. So, I mean, maybe fuck that guy and I just make a Martin Shkreli video myself anyway. And, yeah, maybe I sound like Dan right now, but that did piss me off, to be honest. I don't, I just, I don't know. I wouldn't do that personally. If I ever saw something and I wanted to do something, like a video that I saw, I would give a shout out to that person, especially because at that time my channel was small and his channel was huge. He should have just, you know, anyway. So, okay, so Senator Ben Carson asked, can I get a quick rundown on the Bogdanovs? I've never said these guys' names out loud, actually. The two twins, the fucking, who look like, both of them look like the Elephant Man because of their plastic surgery. Yeah, I don't know what's going on with those guys. I'm pretty sure that they're lizard people, probably interdimensional lizard people. I'm sure that they drink the blood of infants. I'm sure that they're globalist psychic vampires. I'm sure Alex Jones has a lot that he says about those guys. Obviously, I'm joking. I don't think any of that, but yeah, those guys. Those are some weird looking motherfuckers. Okay, someone asked me, please shit on my chest. No, I won't do that. Someone asked, where do you think John McAfee will be in 10 years? I think he'll be dead, to be honest. I mean, he's almost like 73. I think he's way over 73 by this point. I think he's like 75, 76, something like that. I'd have to look it up. Yeah, I think he'll be dead because, like, I mean, the guy, if you, like, watch podcasts, because, like I said, he appears on podcasts all the time, he's always drinking. He's always, like, getting blasted. He's always, like, if you watch, like, he still smokes. You hear his cough. Like, he sounds like he's dying. He looks like he's dying. So, yeah, I think in 10 years he'll like, completely turn it around and become, like a yoga guru again, or he's gonna like he's just gonna die slowly, so which is sad. Yeah, I don't want anybody to die, to be honest. Like, it's sad. I do find John McAfee like to be like a funny and guy in a way. Like, I follow him on Twitter and I laugh at him, and I think he loves the attention. He's a goofball, right? He's like he's a circus act by this point. But then he's also like a circus act that, like he, with all of these allegations. So, moving on. Would you rather be kidnapped by John McAfee and go on a Far Cry type adventure with him as your main villain, or join Tilly in being a con man and get into wacky scams involving rich French people? Neither. Like, I would hang out with John McAfee, I guess. I would like to talk to Tilly, but I don't know. I feel like with a lot of the people that I've covered so far, they're all compulsive liars, a lot of them. I don't know why I like covering these types of people. Maybe I should start covering some more likable people. But yeah, all of them, I think you just get a bunch of bullshit from them and crazy talk. Like, you wouldn't... it wouldn't be even a conversation, like with John McAfee too. Like, it's like he doesn't talk to people; he just talks at people. He goes on long monologues, and a lot of these guys are narcissists. But funnily enough, actually talking to Dan was similar to that, but he was also just very nice. It's just strange. He wasn't overbearing, but yeah. But it was all about him anyway, but, whatever, What's the name of the Japanese girl who says, okay, she's adorable? Yeah, it's Yui Asaka. Yeah, you can find that. You just look up Yui Asaka, OKI, and then CM, which means commercial, I guess. And, like, that's how they tag it, like, Japanese commercials, If you want to find some more, like, deep cut shit, like, just look her name up in Japanese, like just Google her name and then copy and paste the Japanese text and Google that with CM and you'll find more deep cut stuff. What's my favorite type of cereal? I don't even know if I eat cereal anymore. I haven't ate cereal in so long. Usually I just eat eggs in the morning and like, a bagel. I don't really eat cereal. But when I was a kid, I liked Fruit Loops a lot. Right now, I can't really take any, I don't like candy for some reason. I'm not a snack type of person. I don't really eat snacks. I don't eat sugary candy stuff. And it's not even a health thing. It's just, I don't know. I don't know. My relationship with I just eat for sustenance in a way. Like if I could just take a pill and not have to, cook or eat or, order food or whatever, I just take a pill. If that was enough to sustain me and make me feel full and and it had all the right nutrients and whatever, like this, some scientist put together this miracle pill, I would take that instead. I'm the type of person who saw the Soylent drink. And I was like, okay, you know what? Yeah, I might try that. I never ended up trying it, but whatever. Can you do more weird famous people stories? So I guess like Dennis Rodman or the Marshalls, like the Roar video, like along those lines. Yeah, I mean, I do plan to make a video all about Tom Cruise, just like talking about his persona and just. Tom Cruise is interesting because he's he's one of the last remaining movie stars, alive. There's only a handful of people who can open a movie with just their name on the marquee, and Tom Cruise is one of them. And he's just he's like a person, but he's like a blockbuster. Just his essence is that of a blockbuster, he's the type of person, it's like he was dropped by a crane onto a Hollywood movie studio backlot, and he was just dropped there and he was just born a star. So I really respect Tom Cruise in a way, but then he's also fucking nuts, I do want to kind of make a funny video about Tom Cruise eventually. How would you describe being a creator on YouTube in the current climate? Do you have any issues with demonetization? Yeah, I mean, almost all of my videos get demonetized. A lot of them, after they have to be manually reviewed and then it's remonetized. So yeah, but initially, almost everything I post will initially be demonetized, and then I have to wait a day for it to be remonetized. I have about 2 videos that are completely demonetized for YouTube guidelines stuff. So my cocaine bear video, of course, the one by about Mitsuyasu Maino, the porn star who kamikaze to Yakuza Don's mansion. That's demonetized. I think those. Oh yeah, and then I have a bunch of videos that are limited, have limited monetization. The video that the podcast I did with Jake Hanrahan. Jake Hanrahan has limited monetization. The fourth part of the John McAfee series has limited monetization. But yeah, and then there's a few other videos that were they got for content ID stuff. None of them are blocked, but I lost monetization on the Roar video. Or they're sharing it now, which is annoying because they should be giving they should send me a nice letter, because honestly there wasn't very much about Roar on YouTube at all before I did it, right? And I think I must that video almost has I think it has 800,000 views. It's one of the videos about Roar with the most views. I think it is the one with the most views. And I think a lot of people heard about that movie through my channel. So I don't know, but now they're sharing monetization with me, which is fine, whatever. Then the Count Dante video, that's completely, I have no monetization on that because I use that one song, that telephone song at the end. 5, 6, 7, and 9. Woo, like that. Like I have a 30-second clip with that, and yeah, so that got demonetized because it's the content, copyright content that I used. Yeah. What's the current climate for YouTube? It's strange. I think it might be hard to break in now. Like when I started, I always knew that I could just post on Reddit, and I could build off of that. But now I think that it's harder to get your stuff seen on Reddit unless it's completely different from the type of stuff that I do, because there's just so many people who do similar kind of documentary YouTube stuff now. So it's hard to stand out. Like mealtime videos are Reddit. The subreddit mealtime videos is pretty good still, though. You could still, if you have a decent video, you can still get views. Like it's all about like when you first start, you're not going to get like views just through YouTube at first, because you don't register on the algorithm at all. What you have to do is you have to have it posted somewhere else, and then you have to have an influx of people watching your videos, and then you get put on the algorithm. So by the time you get like 1,000 subscribers, by that time it's pretty much exponential. As long as you're posting good content, and you're sharing it or whatever. I think you still have to share it. By the time I got like, right now I don't have to share things, which is nice. But like when I was at like 13,000 views, 13,000 subscribers, I had to share still on Reddit. Like my John Mcafee series, each video only had like 3,000 views, and I think the last one had like 800 views until I posted the Dan Nainan video, and the Dan Nainan video blew up, and then all of my videos got views. And now I have enough people where as long as I make good content and and people watch it, the algorithm does its job, and it like basically all I have to do is make good content, which is a great position for me to be in right now. But like at first it sucks because it's really hard. Even if you're making really good videos, it's really hard to get people to watch it. It's really hard to get any eyes, and people are and it's really discouraging. Yeah, I feel that pain. I feel it. It sucks. But yeah, the best way is always you gotta do it through like Reddit or Facebook or Twitter. You have to like pick something like specifically for like a fandom and make a video for them, and that's the type of thing that you gotta do to get your videos seen. Unless you're like just really exceptionally creative and you just made your own thing, and it just everybody wants to see it because it's just great, which happens. There's a lot of people like that, So yeah, I'm not one of them, by the way. I don't think I'm one of them. I still had to yeah. Anyway, so moving on. How do you come across these stories? Do you get curious and Google? Is it word of mouth, or you just know? Yeah, I mean, I read a lot of articles. I save interesting shit. Whenever I see like an interesting thing on Reddit, I save it. I have like a long list of video ideas that, eventually I might do, or, so I have a long ass list of interesting shit. And I mean, yeah, maybe there's a bit of, I guess, like some sort of talent in curating it and then realizing what works and what interests me. Like, I'm sure a lot of my videos, like, other people might have encountered it, but thought, like, oh, well, that's stupid. But for me, it's like, I just like crazy shit, like wild and stupid shit. So I just decided I'm just going to stick with that and do it, I just like that kind of stuff. Like, that's like, yeah, anyway. Are you planning on any specific guests for this podcast? No. But I don't know if you guys ever heard of Atrocity Guide. I was talking to her, and we've spoke about starting a podcast together. I think that would be cool. So we're talking about that, and maybe that might happen sometime soon. Have you ever wanted to make a video on? Okay, what's something you've wanted to make a video on before, but the topic was too broad to be covered or too controversial? Okay, well, I've always wanted to make a video about Pizzagate. I want to do like a comprehensive breakdown and like a linear timeline of everything that went down. And like I kind of want to do a comedic take on it because I just think it's like it's fucking bullshit, right? But I just think that there was just so much stuff going on at that time, crazy shit going on that like it would be wacky and funny and insane and like the perfect video for my channel. So I do plan to do that eventually, but that would take forever. And I'm totally anticipating this, not that I would care really, but I'm totally anticipating having the craziest people leaving the craziest messages, furious with me, and, disliking the shit out of it. But I don't really care because I do really want to make a video about Pizzagate. I think that would be awesome. Have you ever considered doing a poll so that your audience could pick out a story for you to cover? No, not really. I like to just pick them myself. I've had a few people suggest things to me though, and I'll look it up and I'll add it to the list. Like the guy Stobe the Hobo, the train hopping guy who died. Like someone mentioned that to me, and then I started watching that guy's old videos, and I just love that guy's content. And like, yeah, rest in peace, Stobe the Hobo. Really sad, really compelling guy. Go watch his videos. There's a bunch of them online. Just great stuff. Really, really cool, genuine, down to earth guy, and it's a real shame that he passed. Someone asked me how to get a tolerable job when you have zero skills or experience. Well, make YouTube videos. Wow, I totally fucked that. I totally fucked that up. What did I say? Like I don't know what the fuck that was, but yeah, I was going for the Anyway, yeah, make YouTube videos because you don't need any qualifications to make YouTube videos, and if you get lucky, you can make some decent money. And not that I'm making decent money, but if you get lucky, you grow. You could do like sponsorships and Patreon and live stream, and if you have the time for all that shit, you can make a lot of money just doing this, I think. Otherwise, just do porn. Okay. What was your original pull towards Nainan, Mcafee, and Thierry Tilly? Nainan, I saw the Nobody Likes Onions podcast on Reddit Cringe, and I watched the whole thing, and that was back in like 2017, maybe 2016, and I found it really compelling, and it stuck with me. So, like, when I started making videos, I added him to the list, and eventually I decided to make a video about him. John McAfee, it's kind of similar. I heard him on Joe Rogan in like 2012 when the whole police shit was going down and he was on the run. I didn't quite understand what the fuck he was talking about, but I always, like, it stuck with me how he was so fucking strange. So yeah, like, when I was looking for someone to do, I decided on McAfee. And Thierry Tilly, I forget how I found Thierry Tilly. I think it was just I read an article and I saved it, and then when I was looking for something to do, I saw him on the list. I'm like, oh, you know what? This is a real fucking crazy weird story. I'm gonna do this one. How long does it take research? How long does research take for each video? Okay, I'm gonna be right back, and then I'm gonna answer this. Hold on, I'm gonna pause. Okay, back. So the question was, how long does research take? Yeah, it varies. It depends. So sometimes it takes so fucking long, Like with Thierry Tilly, it took 6 months, right? And so I read so many books for it. Not only the two books written by, one was written by Christine de Vidrine, and the other was written by Ghislaine de Vidrine and John Marchand. I also read a bunch of books on like cults and con artists, and I read a book by the guy Festinger who coined the term cognitive dissonance after he was sociologist who infiltrated doomsday cults, and he like observed what happened when their doomsday prediction didn't come true, and he realized that people continue to rationalize, prior held beliefs, even though it doesn't, it doesn't come true, and it has no basis in reality. So he coined the term cognitive dissonance to explain that cognitive discomfort that happens, right? So I read that, but there was also this. So the book written by Jean Marchand and Ghislaine, the book Diabolique, it's only available in French. So first of all, I had to buy it. I had to go on a French website, buy it. And then they had this stupid DRM thing where you can't even copy and paste anything in the book. So I had to figure out how do I get just the text, right? So I figured that out. I found some software that did that. And then I tried to read it on using Google Translate, but it was so difficult and I was losing so much context. So then I got a translator. I had a translator who translated it and wrote notes and, worked with me for about a month or something. And they also helped me with watching documentaries and translating the documentaries for me. So there was a lot of that. But then eventually I had like hundreds of pages of notes, right, to go through. And the story takes place over 12 years. So then I had to, in the books and all the articles that I read for this, like so many articles, I had to put everything into a chronological order because everything wasn't in a chronological order. And I had to, familiarize myself with the 11 members of the family and the, the places that they were living and where they moved and all this stuff over time because they move around a lot. And there were so many moving parts in this story, and I'm still not done it, but still, I have the script done. I just have to, the process now is just recording it in segments and finishing the edit and putting them out hopefully every 2 weeks, which I managed to do with part 2, which was hard actually. But anyway, yeah. So there's a lot of it is just, putting together that timeline, and structuring it and getting a sense of who these people are and being able to write from the perspective of someone who is almost there. So there's just a lot of, organizing and rereading and thinking and structuring, and getting other sources like books by cult experts and just so much shit like that. So that's what takes a very long time for this. Another thing that took a long-ass time was the John Mcafee series, which it was similar. There was just so much shit out there about John Mcafee. And there wasn't any other source, other than so it took a while till I found the articles by Jeff Wise, who is the guy who, he's the guy in the Mcafee videos who I talk to with my terribly pixelated camera. By the way, that terribly pixelated camera, that wasn't... It's the same webcam I still use sometimes, so it's just that it froze. So I had to scale up the little Skype window, preview window that I saw of my own face at the top right-hand corner, and then I had to scale it up to cover just a frozen image of my face. So that's why it's so pixelated. But anyway, so it took a while to find Jeff Wise's articles that were actual, legit breakdowns of what John Mcafee was up to and everything he did. So I read those, but still there was just so much work to do with structuring and getting it into a chronological order, and also with Mcafee, because the guy is a consummate liar. He lies so much. It was very difficult to separate fact from fiction because there's just so much bullshit out there that he leaked to the media himself. So I just have to use my best judgment and figure out what was true, what was not. And in the third part, you might notice that like I went through a whole thing where I'm like, this is what Mcafee said he did during his time on the run. This is what actually happened during his time on the run. A lot of that was just like me, a lot of that was just my own investigation, right? And I'm really proud of that series, actually, because, like, I mean, I spent so long on it. I mean, I was going to school. I was at, like, a fine arts school, an atelier program at the time, but I was also working. But, I mean, I did spend, like, 7 months on that, just researching and putting it together and, trying to make it as entertaining as possible with the script. And I even had, like, an original edit that was, like, 40 minutes long that I scrapped, and then I took parts of it for part one. So there was just so much legwork put into that, and even like the Terry Tilly thing that I'm doing, it's like an investigation as well, because no one has really written about this story like I have yet, So I am proud of like the work that I'm doing. But so the research takes a long ass time, and that's the better part of what I do is the research and the writing. And then like 10% is the editing. Except for like the Dan Nainan video where it's like that a lot of that was just like me trying my best to do as cool editing as possible. And you might be able to notice that. It's probably that, and so the Dan Nainan video, the Hiro Onoda videos, and the Count Dante video are the videos that are like I work the hardest on editing, and then everything else is mostly me just researching and writing. So yeah, I think the next video that I do also will be something that I pay way more attention to the editing, because I do miss like making cool edits and shit. But yeah, anyway, okay, so Colin Breeding. This guy's cool. I know this guy too. This guy's been around forever. He asked me, there was a couple months gap between part 1 and 2 of the Hiro Onoda videos. At the time, I thought you were just done with the channel. Did you think of stopping at the time, or was that just the production length for part 2? Part 2 I did in about 2 months, and I was working the whole way through. Part 2, there was no break. Yeah, no, part 2 took a long-ass time. There was actually a break, like a couple-month break with the John Mcafee series. I don't know if it was a couple months, but maybe a month. Well, I was just really busy with school and shit and work, so I couldn't really work on the Mcafee series too much. But yeah, with Hiro Onoda, there was no break. Have I ever thought about stopping? Yeah, many times, almost every day. No, not really. But I have thought about, stopping or starting a different channel, maybe something easier. But then at the same time, I get a lot out of this, and I just like it, especially when it's done. I love seeing the results of it. It's cool. I enjoy it. I really, I'm really proud of what I've been able to accomplish with these videos. He asked me, honestly, have you ever thought of closing up shop at any point? If so, what got you to continue? I guess feeling like I might be leaving a good thing behind, that if I continue that, I'll really benefit from it. There was a while where I was only focusing on drawing for a while, and that was that month or so, like the Mcafee stuff. I was just like, when I got home, instead of working on the Mcafee video, I would just draw. And I was like, I was reading books on like illustration, and I was actually even considering going back to school, and like, because I was like in an atelier program, but it wasn't like university program. I wanted to go to like Sheridan for illustration for a while, and that was just last year. But then I decided against it, and I decided, fuck it, I'm just gonna go all in with the videos again. But yeah, sometimes I get depressed, I think, especially when it's like in the middle of a project and I can't see finishing the script anytime soon, or starting like recording anytime soon, and I'm just like, holy fuck, how long is this gonna take? And I just see, people who started around the same time I started on YouTube growing way faster by doing like, really quick, they just like research something for like, a couple hours and then put something together. And I'm just like, well, why don't I just do that? But then I realized, you're not like that. You don't want to do that. So yeah, it takes some time to finish these videos, and I always get like I think I get really down at times when like I feel, and then I get really stressed. And I'm like, I gotta put out a video, but then I realize later on that it's worth it. That's the story of everything. So at least I know any future projects I ever do, I just always need to remember it's always going to be worth it. Okay, so how do you discover new topics to do videos on? Every video you've done has been more obscure and interesting than the last. Like I said, I just read a lot of articles, just save everything that seems interesting. I think that's it. That's all the questions. That's all the questions I have here. Yeah, that's it. I think that's about everything. Yeah. So yeah, that's it for this podcast, I guess. Sorry, I said like a million times and ah. It was kind of fun. I actually enjoyed doing this. I hope you enjoyed listening. And sometime soon, I don't know when. Me and Atrocity have been talking about starting a podcast, so maybe we do that. Maybe we have some guests on. I don't know who we'd invite. But I think that would be cool. So yeah, that's it for this, though. I'm done. This has been like, how long has this been? Oh, okay, yeah. Yeah, almost an hour and 40 minutes. All right, so yeah, thanks for listening, and yeah, take care.